Today, I am joined by Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin to go through some of the biggest news stories. Senator Johnson, thank you for joining me again.
Well, Stephen, thanks for having me on.
So last time we spoke, Trump had won but hadn't been placed in office. What report card do you give him for his first 30 days in office?
Well, I'd give him a solid A. I, for one, am really pleased with how his bold, his swift, his decisive action across the board on honoring the promises he made. Obviously, securing the border. Again, the world realizes there's a new sheriff in town, and so encounters are way down. Just proving the fact that the Democrats lied to us for the entire Biden administration, that the president didn't have the authority without a law being passed. Now, we always would have been happy to strengthen the authority, but President Biden used the authority to open up the border. Toward the tail end of his administration, he used that authority to start clamping down on it. But it's really President Trump taking office that has now largely secured the border and stopped the flow. The fact that he's making good on his promises related to all the wokeism from the Democrats, banning boys from biological males from girls' sports, from their locker rooms, from their bathrooms, that type of thing. Just across the board, canceling DEI programs throughout the agencies, using Elon Musk to effectively root out, discover, expose the massive, the grotesque level of waste, fraud, and abuse here at the federal government. Again, I just couldn't be more pleased from that standpoint. Now, we have many challenges. What I've been primarily working on, advocating for, is we have to return to some reasonable pre-pandemic level of spending. I put a number of options out there, just looking at prior total outlays under Clinton, under Obama, under Trump. I can explain it in greater detail, but if you just take those spending levels, these are actual total outlays, increase it by population growth and inflation using this year's Social Security, Medicare, and interest. We would have somewhere between a $5.5 to $6.5 trillion spending base to work off of. This compares to $7.3 trillion, which is the current projected total outlays for this year. It's a massive decrease, and it's a massive decrease from what the House is working on with their one big beautiful bill, where they're saying all they can do is cut spending by about $150 billion a year. It sounds big. They say $1.5 trillion, but divided by 10, that's $150 billion. So they take it down to 1.715, when at most, we ought to be looking at a pre-pandemic level, again, fully inflated, at about 6.5. So that's a massive delta, but that's really what we need to figure out. How do we accomplish that?
Yeah. I took some notes from a different interview, and you said the federal government spending before COVID was $4.4 trillion, now $7.3 trillion. That's a 61% increase, yet the American population hasn't even grown by 3%. So we're just spending multiples of how many people are in the country, assigning more and more debt to each individual American citizen. Was that largely because Biden was trying to make America green or electric, or where did the majority of that new spending go?
It's shockingly across the board. What I've done for my colleagues is, I'm a business guy, I'm an accountant, so I've laid this all out, these outlays, by function. I've separated out discretionary versus mandatory spending. I've given them the adjusted 2019 number, compared that to the projected 2025, and I've laid out the variance by not only function, but also by subfunction. It's probably about a 15-page report. Just turn that over to Leader Thune and to Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Mike Crapo, today to guide our actions. But it's literally across the board. There's hardly a function of spending that didn't grow higher than what it should have grown, just using population inflation. Again, what the federal government doesn't have is any kind of control over spending. States have to balance their budget. That's a really good control. It's why state government really is more efficient, more effective, obviously more responsive to their taxpayers. Federal government, we just print money. And so there's literally no control. I would love a balanced budget amendment, but we'd figure out a way to weasel around that. But I've always said my preference would be a spending limitation. So a limit spending to a certain percentage of GDP. I'd pick somewhere in the 18, it's certainly no more than 20%. But I like 18 because revenue over 50 years is, average about 17.3%. So at some point in time, we're going to have to bring spending in line with revenue. And one of the reasons I like using the 1998 Clinton total outlays, that was, first of all, passed, I think, 79-22 in the Senate. Schumer, Durbin, Patty Murray, McConnell, Grassley, Thune, Graham. I mean, it was passed on a bipartisan basis by senators and now House members that are now senators. That would plus up to $5.5 trillion, which is exactly what President Biden projects as revenue for this year. Stephen, that's how close we are, how possible, how reasonable a balanced budget actually would be if we embrace that pre-pandemic level. Now, I talked to my Republican colleagues who certainly ran when I was running back in 2010. Everybody was talking about zero-based budgeting. We have to return to zero-based budgeting. Well, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. So I'm offering the best alternative. How about a 5.5 to 6.5 trillion base spending level or budget? That's what I'm proposing. How we get from here to there, that's the real problem.
Okay. I've been nervous to talk with you about this because of censorship on YouTube, but I'm just going to go for it because you are more educated than most of the people in the Senate. I want to talk about Dr. Fauci and the pandemic situation. You've been the tip of the spear on calling out for the truth on COVID, mRNA technology, Big Pharma, Dr. Fauci. What was your initial reaction to Dr. Fauci receiving a full pardon from President Biden? And are there any plans to call him back in to testify in the future?
Well, the first question is, what crimes was Joe Biden pardoning him from? Also recognizing that the pardon is a double-edged sword for Dr. Fauci. Now he has no Fifth Amendment protection against testifying fully and truthfully in front of Congress. And so the next step for us is we need to take advantage of RFK Jr.'s pledge to engage in radical transparency within HHS. That's not going to be easy, by the way. As much as I know Bobby Kennedy wants to provide radical transparency, he still has to deal with a bureaucracy that doesn't want it. And so it's one of the reasons right after the election I said what President Trump really needs is a Secretary of Information Extraction. And of course, that's what DOJ has been to a certain extent. They've been extracting information, and you've heard the squeals, the gnashing of teeth from the Democrats who want to defend the waste, fraud, and abuse. They all say, "Oh, we're all against waste, fraud, and abuse." No, you're not. You want to keep hiding it. You don't want to come clean. And so the first step is getting the information from HHS so we understand the extent that Fauci, Collins, all these members of the top levels of some of these health agencies, they lied to the American public. Once you have the documentation, then you can start calling them in and ask them some pretty pointed questions. But there's really no sense in interviewing people until you have the documents.
Okay. RFK Jr. has, and Trump even, have committed to figuring out why are Americans dealing with so much chronic illness? Where did autism come from? Why are children so unhealthy compared to other nations and compared to 20, 30 years ago? Is this also going to be an uphill battle, or do enough people care about the future of our population to actually let RFK Jr. and his team get in there and make America healthy again? As we age, we are all dealing with more aches and pains. Our hair starts thinning out. Our skin develops wrinkles and looks less youthful. Even our nails become brittle. I want to tell you about an amazing product that helps prevent some of these things from happening. It's Revive from Bright Core Nutrition. Revive helps strengthen bones and joints. The best thing about Revive is that it works from the inside out. It also helps to rejuvenate your skin, help you grow back thicker hair, and strengthens your brittle nails. Now, one thing I like about this, besides the fact that it's delicious, is Revive contains 5 types of collagen, hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C. These are ingredients that work synergistically to make you feel and look younger than you have in years. Now, Revive can be mixed with your favorite drink. They have an unflavored one you could put in your coffee or hot chocolate. They also have this one, strawberry lemonade. And I just got this in the mail. It still has the seal on it because I got through my bottle, and I just absolutely love it. I drink it every single day. Now, something else that's amazing about Revive is it's all natural, non-GMO, and 100% made in the United States of America. Whether it's reducing pain or aches, revitalizing your skin, hair, or nails, Revive can do that. Today, I have an exclusive offer for you. If you buy 2 bottles, you get one free. Use the link down below, mybrightcore.com/USA. Or for up to 50% off plus free shipping, give these guys a call at 888-908-4425. It's delicious and you'll love it.
Well, the good news and why I have optimism about this is a completely nonpartisan issue. I think the only reason Bobby Kennedy got confirmed is members of the Senate recognized this is what the American people want. Trying to uncover the root causes or causes of chronic illness and autism. That is what the American public is hungering for. And so that's going to be very helpful to us when the public is behind us. Now, I held an event with Bobby Kennedy and Casey Means, her brother Callie, other nutritional experts the end of September. And I think one of the best snippets of testimony came from Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a psychiatrist who does a lot of work dealing with nutrition's impact on mental health. And the comment he made is they don't want to know the root cause. Who's they? Well, my guess would be the big corporations that have captured our agencies, whether it's Big Pharma or Big Food or Big Ag. Let's face it, they have multi-billion-dollar businesses. They don't want to know that one of their drugs or some of their pesticides or herbicides or some of their ultra-processed food, are the cause or contributing causes to these problems, because that will disrupt their multi-billion-dollar business model. So they're going to do everything they can in their power to really prevent that truth. Again, this isn't the first time we've gone through this. Take a look at what the medical establishment and big tobacco did. How many years they delayed what they knew, the obvious, that smoking cigarettes is probably not that good for your lungs.
Yeah.
Again, they knew that for decades before they finally came clean. So, I hate to say this because the medical establishment saved my infant daughter's life back when she had transposition of the great arteries. They rebaffled the upper chamber of her heart. She's 40 years old now, because what we do in medicine is phenomenal. But all that being said, the medical establishment doesn't have a real track record of welcoming innovation, thinking outside the box, accepting just new treatments. They are wedded to, in this day and age, Big Pharma. They want a drug for everything, as opposed to, well, what should we do in terms of lifestyle changes? What environmental factors could be causing this kind of stuff? They just want a new drug that's patentable, and it has to be patentable. They're not interested in generic drugs at all, which is why they sabotage the use of hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, a host of other drugs that could help treat COVID, but we didn't use them because we were all bent, on the patented remdesivir, which probably killed people, venting, which killed people, but in particular the vaccine, which also killed people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I should say the injection.
Yeah, I read these stories every day, and I'm like, okay, how could people not know? Like, here's one that I'll throw out. And by the way, that I love hearing that about your daughter. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place too, because I feel like I'm 100% alive today because of modern medicine, but at the same time, I need honest medicine that really wants to help me and make me healthy. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place here. On the one hand, I'm seeing Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and possibly the White House saying we want to investigate the mRNA vaccines and possibly remove them from the market. On the other hand, President Trump says, I met with the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla. He's a great guy. So does President Trump not realize how damaging the Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson vaccines have actually been?
I think President Trump wants to continue to believe I'll call it the propaganda out there that the vaccine saved tens of millions of lives. They awarded the Nobel Prize to the people who developed the mRNA, and think at that time said it saved 13 to 14 million lives. Now, I've never seen the study that backs up that number. I think they just pulled it out of the air, and then everybody keeps using it. We do have VAERS that shows how many deaths were reported as associated with the COVID vaccine. We're up by, I think, close to 38,000, if not over. I haven't been keeping this up on a monthly basis because the use of the mRNA, the uptake is so low that we haven't seen the numbers, the VAERS numbers rise the way we did initially. But of those more than 37,000 deaths, 24% occurred on either the day of vaccination or within 1 or 2 days. That is something that the federal health agencies, the executives of Pfizer, Moderna, they don't want to admit that. But you compare that to, example, the swine flu vaccine, where you had 400 to 500 cases of Guillain-Barré disease, a couple dozen deaths, and they pulled that vaccine off the market. And that was like a real vaccine. This is something different. This is an injection. This is gene therapy. This hijacks your cells and has your cells manufacture something that is toxic to the body. And when the cell does that, the body attacks something that's foreign to it. When the body attacks something in your body, that's called inflammation. That's what myocarditis is. I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, not a medical researcher. When Michael Yeadon explained this to me in probably about October 2020, I knew I was never going to get that injection. It was pretty obvious to me that this looks kind of dangerous. We ought to go slow on this. We ought to really test this and understand the long-term impact on it. Highly vulnerable populations to COVID, okay, make it available to them. I'm the author of Right to Try, all for Right to Try, but that has to come with informed consent. And the global public did not have informed consent because the Faucis of the world lied bold-faced to us repeatedly during COVID.
Yeah. I've got some numbers right in front of me. VAERS shows 37,869 reported deaths, 314,958 serious injuries. Of the 37,000 deaths, 24,000 of those are from Pfizer. So yeah, this Bourla guy, he doesn't want to get to the bottom of that. And let me just read a quote from him. He said that he's completely open to working with RFK Jr. and President Trump to make America healthy again outside of the vaccines. So, I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar line of revenue that, like you said, I think they want to turn a blind eye to it. They don't really want to know, but I believe RFK Jr. is going to get in there. I don't think he's going to take away vaccines, but this informed consent. Do you really know what's happening when you put something in your body? I think that's going to be a big deal.
Well, I think the fact of the matter is we don't know. Again, I understand the attractiveness of a vaccine. It just sounds like such an elegant solution. Or you rather than somebody get ill with something that could kill them, you give them an attenuated virus or a dead virus that their body recognizes, reacts to, develops antibodies to. So in case you do get the real one, your body's already on the defensive and can defeat it before it kills you. So I understand that the elegance of that solution. The problem is they find out that attenuated virus or dead virus just doesn't activate your immune system well enough, so they have to add things like adjuvants. In the past, they've used mercury, they use aluminum. Nobody's keeping track of the total accumulation of that. I listened to a podcast, a guy who really went down this rabbit hole, said that the study that they used to approve the aluminum adjuvant was based on 4 rabbits. They lost the data on one of them. After 28 days, they killed the other 3 rabbits to do an autopsy, and they found aluminum all over their bodies and all their organs. So that's the science behind the aluminum adjuvant. Gee, what could go wrong? And then we certainly don't do studies on what happens when you inject babies with multiple vaccines at the same time. And any time you inject somebody with a vaccine, you're screwing with their immune system. Gee, what could go wrong? We have all this autoimmune disease nowadays. We have all these, autism. There wasn't autism when I was growing up. The best figure we have is in 1970, an imperfect study, somewhere around 1 in 10,000. I think that's what people quote. But we know that CDC's own numbers, its instance of autism has grown dramatically, while they actually narrowed the definition of autism to reduce the number of cases they had to report.
Wow.
We always hear, we're just overdiagnosing it. No, we literally narrowed the definition so we could report fewer, and yet cases still skyrocket. So something is going wrong, and maybe, just maybe, we can start asking those questions without being attacked, vilified, destroyed. Because that's basically what happened to so many of us who've asked these questions.
Yeah. RFK Jr. said there's a red line. 1989, there was 13 major changes, and he wants to look at all 13 of those and determine what is going on. Senator, I know your time is valuable. Thank you very much for everything you do. Final question. I'm reading online that you have subpoenaed to get Dr. Anthony Fauci's emails. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. No, we, I consider it a friendly subpoena, but we did it at the tail end of the Biden administration just so that they could start providing us information. Or actually, we wrote letters in the tail end of the Biden administration. I think we issued the subpoena once President Trump was inaugurated. But no, we're looking for all of the analysis. Not only the safety surveillance data, the proportional reporting ratios, the empirical Bayesian analysis, but their analysis of the data. We're looking for the communications. Fauci turned over 4,000 of his emails under FOIA, but they were heavily redacted. Congress, we're not subject to those redactions, okay? We should just be able to read those emails. We were allowed in a reading room to read 400 pages. We narrowed our scope of our request. They allowed us to, again, in a reading room, see them unredacted, couldn't take copies, could take notes, till we got down to the last 50 pages. We've been after those now for a couple of years. So there is something that they don't want us to see under those last 50 pages. So those are subpoenaed, plus the 17-page talking point memo. Rather than issue an alert on the Health Alert Network when they were seeing myocarditis in young men early in the rollout of the vaccine, and they were getting asked by Israel, what are you seeing? It looked, according, again, through emails that we've obtained, heavily redacted, it looks like they were going to issue a warning on the Health Alert Network. They didn't do that. Instead, they issued a 17-page talking points memo, which was also obtained under FOIA, but it looks like this, a blank piece of paper. In the past, they redact by a big black box, right? You can tell, okay, you're blocking out a name and an email address, or you're blocking out a sentence or an entire paragraph. Now they just give you a white piece of paper. So you have no idea the extent of the redactions. So again, under Biden, these agencies were completely opaque. Bobby Kennedy has promised radical transparency, but he's going to have a fight on his hands inside the agency, I fear.
Okay. Well, I know you have. I suspect he will as well. Senator, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for coming on. We'll have you on the show again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Have a great day. Stay well.